My dear brothers and sisters, we are joined on the phone right now by Dr. Magda Amir, who is an Islamic scholar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us here this evening.
Yes, can you hear me well?
I can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I want to begin by asking you the same question that I asked Dr. Mahmoud here in the studio. Are Muslim women allowed to work, or should they stay at home?
Well, contrary to common belief in Islam, that Islam is not confining women to the role of motherhood only. I mean, she is allowed, it is an act of choice and not an obligation for her to choose whether she wants to work or not.
Mm-hmm.
But there are limits, of course, and some guidelines in Islam that should be followed. So we have to take into consideration that women, first of all, Allah has honored her to take care of her home, her children.
Mm-hmm.
They are under her responsibility, under her authority. So a wife, of course, should arrange her priorities. Yani. That means she should take into consideration that her contribution in the welfare of the society starts first in her family. Mm. Like bearing the children and giving birth to the children, and then nursing, upbringing, implementing moral values. All of this is her responsibility. Besides, if she's interested and she wants to work and start working, then she should remember and take into consideration that psychologists that have stated that children, they need their mother most in the early years of their life. Mm-hmm. So never ever she should do such a mistake to abandon her children and start to work right after delivery, for instance.
You know, Doctor, you remind me of a story that I heard just a couple of weeks ago on television. A woman called in a medical doctor, and she was saying, you know, how early can I put my baby on, how early can I stop breastfeeding my baby? And the doctor told her, how old is your baby? And she said 3 days old. 3 days old.
Oh my God.
Subhanallah. So she wants to go back to work so soon, you know, that she wants to stop breastfeeding.
The Quran is instructing us that a minimum of 2 years, 2 years and a half. In my opinion, this is the average for every child. I've got myself 4 kids. And every child, I was like nurturing him and taking care of him personally until the age of 2.5. Starting from this age, they like to play with the others, go to the playground and all of this. But before, of course, she will pay because the children, this is the early age of implementation of moral values. If she doesn't do this properly, she will regret it. It's a part of neglect of her responsibility. So, of course, if she decides to work, there are limits. It's not any work. It should be, first, her husband should agree upon and allow her to work or not. Was there any agreement before marriage or not? It depends on the contract, you know. المؤمنون عند شروطهم وحق الشروط أن توفى ما استحللتم بها الفروج. That means they put the conditions that they say, well, I have no objection against working, but I don't want you at the same time to start early working when the children are young, or it would be perfect if it is a part-time work and not a full-time work. Things like this, it's under the consent of both partners. In Islam, there are limits. That means that the work should not compromise her modesty. This is number one first. And of course, she should adhere to the moral values of Islam, like the clothing, the way of talking, the movement, etc. And regarding mingling with men, that we have al-ikhtilat al-mahmoud or al-ikhtilat al-mazmoom. That means a proper way of mingling. There is nothing against mingling, but mixing with men, but in a proper way.
What does
not
that entail? I mean,
compatibility,
what is
not
that? Because that's really a kind of like a really touchy subject. You know, there are some people who say mixing in totality is absolutely forbidden, except when you know it's absolutely necessary. For example, like, you know, a woman going to a doctor, like being forced in a certain situation to speak to men. But what you're saying is that there are different categories
No, there is different
of
category
intermixing.
of mixing. Al-Mahmoud, that means appreciated, and Mazmoon, that means rejected by Islam somehow, because when it is like if she's a teacher or a doctor, for instance, and but not mixing like a hostess or an actress, and she has to travel away and to be like away from her family and joking with, you know, they are. They're not respecting the limits between how to respect a man and should respect a woman. When they start to joke and this, no, or travel together or be in the car together, all this is haram. It's illegitimate.
So basically, what you're saying is, as long
the proper way
as
of mixing is with the limits. She's wearing hijab and he's lowering his gaze and so on.
So these are the conditions. I mean, you're saying that she's wearing the correct hijab. You know, he's lowering his gaze. There's not a lot of, there's not much talk outside of work, right?
No, I mean during work. I mean the respectful work.
No, what I mean, there's not much talk outside of work. Meaning, what I mean is that there's not much talk outside of the content of what is being done at work. Yeah.
Exactly. Not confidential talks, and each one, you know, is interested in the other, and it's to start. ولا تقربوا الزنا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, don't approach adultery by or fornication by any by private phone calls, by giving her a ride, and so on. You know. Of course, in Islam also, we should this work should not threaten her stability at home. That means, as a housewife, she should put her priority. Is it the proper time to start working, or she should delay it? This is a wise woman and a woman that fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She will have like this balance. She will maintain a balance between playing the role of the motherhood and at the same time the responsibility of the work.
Doctor, there are people.
In my opinion, would be perfect for her. The best way of working is the part-time.
A part-time job, right? I want to take you. I want to take you back to the idea when you said, you know, not giving her a ride, lowering the gaze, you know, wearing correct hijab, all these types of things. Some people have an opinion that you should absolutely avoid all of this temptation. This in itself is temptation. You know, why put a brother in a situation where he has to lower his gaze? Why not put him in a situation where he's only working with men? And at the same time, why put a sister in a situation, you know, where she has to watch out for every move that she makes, that she has to watch out for everything that she dresses? Why all of this? Why not cut the temptation from the roots?
I'm not against it. Why not? If she can seek a job where they separate men from women, teachers, female teachers from male teachers, and but in general, it's very hard to find a job really only for women and another one only for men.
What you're saying is that it's not realistic.
It's not realistic, exactly. So they have to mix together, but this is, I guess it's very hard to decide to work unless you work at home. Unless she works at home, then she's sure not to mix with others. But as long as she goes out, starting from the first step, she in the taxi, wherever she goes, she will mix with men. But there is a way to deal with men, there is to behave herself, to respect her tone of voice, and many things are modesty in general.
What specific advice do you give women who you know, are in the workplace in order for them to preserve their modesty? I mean, you know, certain women, they go to work and they want to make sure every single day that they're wearing something new, something fashionable, something different. They have a whole lot of makeup also on. What is your advice to them?
She shouldn't wear makeup at all. She should be very simple. and by all means avoid any work that they subjected to such any temptation, that, like any an actress, I'm sorry, a dancer or a hostess, she should, or a model. Of course, she should follow the fashion and all of this. But if she's a teacher or even inviting people for Islam, a respectful job like a doctor, etc., then she can dress up in a proper way and at the same time classical way, and put and respect limits between men and women. We have example the Prophet ﷺ, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, Khadija was well known as her successful trading, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ. And she devoted all her wealth and emotional support for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is an example of a role model of women working at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Aisha was a scholar. She narrated more than 2,000 hadiths.
Yes.
Then women can be a scholar. She can seek knowledge, even if she's at home. Why not attending classes, attending, religious lessons, and memorize the Quran and the Tajweed, etc., the biography of the prophets, and then implement all her knowledge in her family. Because women staying at home, sometimes if she's not productive, 100%, she can get bored. She can develop depression. She can also wasting her time gossiping or involved in other people's problems, and then at the end she's not productive. So it's not ideal also that we limit her to be the mother, playing the role of the mother, and that's it.
Dr. Majda, thank you so much for your time. Really, really, really appreciate it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for the great knowledge and the great insight. And what I love about what the doctor said is that she's paying attention to reality, to what's on the ground with us. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.